Hi, and welcome to Mordhau 101, where I try to learn you some Mordhau. This video is going to be for beginners, because I want to have a video to link to beginners that isn't 2 years old, and I also don't want to spend 5 hours of my time teaching a beginner the basics, so I'm making this video. Let's jump right into it. I'm going to need a bot, because I don't have any friends. This guy's a fucking legend. Duffy the fucking legend. Alright, so... Okay, so I want you to go into duels with the mindset of being unpredictable. I'm not gonna use the same... I'm not gonna open up this with the same attack 100% of the time. I might do the same 2 attacks, that way when you fight me it's like, okay, well, so it's either this or it's this. And then if that doesn't really prove all that effective, then I might throw a 3rd thing in. So you want to be unpredictable, but you don't want to show off all of your cards right at the start. If that makes any sense. So when you're in neutral like this, you and the other guy haven't thrown an attack yet, and you can literally do almost anything from here. You're not defending, you're not attacking, but you want to attack. I want you to think about whose turn it is. Basically, what weapon the other guy's using, what weapon you're using, which one you think will be faster. Think about inputting before they do. And if you feel like their attack is going to hit you first, you can parry out of your attack before it hits release. And I'll explain what that is in a second. But right now, I just want you to think about inputting before the other guy does. And if you don't, then be prepared to defend. That's the basic gist of what initiative is, at least from neutral, which is like right here. Like none of us attacked. Like right here, this is neutral. This guy's gonna keep throwing firebombs at me. They don't know how to climb though. So moving on, when you miss an attack, there's some outdated information with some guides out there. They'll tell you, like, if you miss an attack, you can just combo and then keep your initiative through a combo. You can't do that anymore. So, is this guy not regen? So if I were to miss my attack on an enemy and try to combo, and they go to punish my miss, they'll have initiative because I missed. Combo windup will be slower if you miss. So let me try and hit a combo on this guy. Reason why it's faster if you hit your enemy to just combo instead of going back to neutral is because of something called Flinch, and I will explain what that is right now. So if this guy hits me, I'm flinched, and so if this guy hits me, I'm flinched. Can you hit me? And I can't do anything. It interrupts my attacks. If you try to attack while flinched, you're just not gonna have a good time. Unless you want to go for a chamber, but it's only if they're super late on their follow-up. Or if they don't do an accelerated attack, which I'll explain later. Most of the time, if you get flinched, you're gonna have to hard read and you're gonna have to parry. If you miss a parry and you get flinched, you can parry again. That's more for 1vx situations, like you're facing multiple opponents. For the most part, just try and hard read and parry their next attack if you're flinched. I see a lot of new players. They'll like either try to attack or they'll get flinched and then they'll like try to kick. Like they'll literally stand here and they'll like try to kick, man. It's just like, that's not how kicks work, man. And it just goes to show like how much of a failure the tutorial in this game is, because like new players are doing shit like that. Like the tutorial doesn't even tell you what fucking flinch is, I don't think. Flinch is not something you wanna be doing anything other than parrying in. Or a chamber. If you know you can get a chamber off, then know, it's alright to go for a chamber. If you don't know what a chamber is, I'll explain that in a bit. The next thing I want you to think about, if you don't think about it already, is footwork. So I fucking straight up am ducking this guy's attacks while I duck 2 of them. But you can move in this game. It is 3D, and it's first person or third person, depending what you prefer. But you can move in this game. You don't have to make yourself easy to hit. Even though it's melee combat, people can still miss swing. Like, he straight up ducked under my swing like a fucking Chad. You can do that. The hitboxes are pretty tight in this game. See? They're pretty tight. Basically, how you would start out with footwork is holding the holding S key when you're defending, like walking backwards when you're defending, and sprinting forwards when it's your turn to attack. So you'll see me going back when it's my turn to defend, and forward when I'm attacking. And you can sprint while you attack. You get more range that way. There's some of you nublets out there, you'll fucking straight up, you'll just like stand still. You'll like fucking stand still and stab, and it's just like, they're not gonna walk into your stab, dude. They're not gonna gut themselves on your blade. You're gonna have to run it through them. Another thing to keep in mind with footwork, while it's worth mentioning, might be a bit too advanced right now, but you might notice when you parry, there's a circle around your crosshair. It's basically like you can't parry again until it's gone. Basically, what a double parry is you're able, like, you miss a parry once, that's a double parry, and then like, yeah, like you're on parry, like your timer's up, and then you like footwork your way into another parry. But yeah, I'm gonna go over basic attacks so that you know the tools that you're working with. You have your stab, and you have your strike. And that's literally it, but there's different types of strikes. Since I use binds, I only have 3, but technically 6 since I have left and right side. But I have my overhead, have my right strike, which I like to use a lot. That's the one I use a lot. You have your lower strike. Well, I have my lower strike. If you're on 240, you have 240 degrees of angles to come attack from. I also have it on left side. So these are my binds. These are the attacks I use. I also have stabs. I keep stabs in 240, so that way it's easier to chamber, and I'll get into chambering in a minute. But basically, you have these attacks, and these basic ass attacks are the attacks that Duffy is using on me here. And when you get skilled enough at the game, these basic ass attacks that a bot like Duffy would use, or a bot like a new player would use, are not going to work on you. They're just straight up 9.99 times out of 10, it's not going to hit you. Like, it just isn't going to happen. And if it does, then maybe go practice against bots for a bit, because they will literally only use basic ass attacks. If you're having trouble parrying, then it doesn't hurt to go parry against bots for a bit. Something else I want to mention about attacks is wind up and release. So when you attack, there's a wind up phase and there's a release phase, which does damage. The release phase does damage. For instance, I'm winding up here. Okay, that was a bad example. I'm winding up here, and then release, and he parries it. Winding up here, release, and I hit him. Winding up, release, and I hit him again. So take advantage of your weapon's range and your wind up. I like to think of it, in case you didn't know, you can go in your armory and your loadout. You can click advanced right here. You can see your weapon's stats. Since I'm using the greatsword, I have a wind up of 575 milliseconds and a release of 500 milliseconds. So takes 575 milliseconds to wind up, and I have 500 milliseconds of damage phase. And recovery is, it says right there, how long it takes to return to idle on a miss. They refer to it as idle in this game, but this is a pseudo-fighting game. I'm going to use fighting game terms. It's neutral, and people call it neutral, so we're just going to call it neutral. So, like, if I'm, like, halfway between these two walls, I sprint and then do a really late morph, I can, like, almost hit that wall. But if I were to walk, nowhere near that wall as I would be if I were to sprint. And the point of Windup is for you to mix up your opponent or use the tools that you have to try and make your opponent parry so that you can hit them. Because basically the only reason you should hit your opponent is if they don't react in time, so they didn't parry in time, or they parried too early. The way you can do that is during Windup, you have Morph, you have Feint. You can do a Morph or a Feint at any point during Windup. So, like, if you wanted, you could do like a little baby Morph, like that. Or you could do, you can do really fast Morphs. They're completely and utterly useless and a waste of stam though, for the most part. Unless you're trying to counter someone's chamber. So, you can actually use Morphs to counter chambers. It doesn't work 100% of the time though, it depends on your time, so be wary of that. You can do late Morphs, which is what I like to do a lot. Sometimes I'll even miss the morph window, and that's okay, because it makes a pretty good mix-up if you do it late enough. They won't know if you're gonna morph or not, so... And if they expect the morph, if you do it late enough and they expect the morph and they're waiting to parry your morph, you can just stab them in the face. Same goes for feints. You can do early feints. See, like, you can do it so early that, like, your hands barely move. You, like, spaz out. You can do a super late feint. It's not gonna work on this guy, though, because you can do either of them during wind-up phase. Shit, he's behind me. Barely heard him. Something else you can do during wind-up, just to, keep note of this while you, get a hang of initiative, is, you can actually parry during wind-up. It just takes a shit ton of stamina, in case you haven't noticed. There's also a counterattack mechanic. Brave Sir Robin? There's also a counterattack. Okay, this is not a Brave Sir. I think it's Bjerger. Alright. So, you can do a counterattack, you can chamber, it's basically mirroring the opponent's attack. Basically mirroring their attack and timing it like a parry. Since it's a attack, since you're attacking while they're attacking, you're opened up to all the options you would have if you were to do a normal attack from neutral. So I could feint. I could do a morph, or if I really wanted, do a morph feint. So yeah, there's that. Feints or chambers are pretty, honestly, like a simple mechanic that raises the skill ceiling just a little bit, or lowers it, depending on who you ask, but, it is a tool for the toolbox, and it exists, so you may as well know about it. If you're having trouble hitting these, I'd recommend either binding specific swings to specific mouse keys. So like I have my left click is my strike, and then like my mouse wheel down is my overhead, and my mouse wheel up is my stab. And then one of my side buttons is my underhand. And then my other side button to alternate to flip attack side, so I have cover all angles, really, that matter for chambering. And I did that because it's actually, for me, it's a lot more, it's a lot easier to hit chambers more consistently. So if you're having trouble hitting chambers, maybe consider trying binds, so that you don't have to flick your mouse around to like hit chambers. I would keep stab on 240 though. 240 being the default control scheme. Also, if you decide to keybind, then make sure all of these are unticked so that it actually works properly. So what I wanted to talk about was stamina game. Certain things earlier taking up more stam, such as more feigning and the like. Chambering also takes up more stam than parrying. I'll demonstrate that now. Takes up a bit more stam than just regular parrying. The basic general rule of thumb is that if you're parrying a weapon larger than yours, it's going to take more stamina. The reason you want to pay attention to stamina is... He hits me. He doesn't want to hit me. Okay, well let me just spend my stam here. If I parry one of this guy's attacks, my weapon flies away, and I get 30 stam back. I don't think this guy knows how to parry. There we go. You can combo off of a disarm. You can combo off of a disarm, so there isn't really much room for you. There aren't really many options for you if you get disarmed other than just spamming E and looking the direction your weapon flew, and maybe you'll catch it midair. I don't know. There's some pretty sick clips of that happening. There's this thing called clashing, which if you and your opponent, if your weapons hit, they both hit during the release phase. There, you saw it there. Basically, clashing happens when you and your opponent, both your weapons, the tracers hit during release phase. And you basically can just keep attacking, and it doesn't take any stam, really. I believe it doesn't take any stam at all. And, basically you can attack off of it, and you can just keep comboing, and whoever gets the first hit, or you can just parry out of it, whatever. But yeah, it's two types of weapons in this game. You have your bladed weapons, like my greatsword here, and he's using a bladed weapon too, even though it's pole arm and it has different animations. It still has a blade on it. So what that means is you can combo. So after I hit him, I can just combo him.
We were supposed to fight an actual army here.
Means I can do a follow-up attack if I hit him. That's faster than if I were to just hit him and then go back to neutral and then hit him again. It's faster than that. And with bladed weapons,
Looking upon the face of our enemy,
you cannot combo, but they are flinched. I'm not quite sure about the specifics of it. All I know is that if you do a follow-up attack with a blunt weapon, they're still going to be flinched and they're still going to have to hard read or chamber. So they're still going to be on the defensive and you still have initiative. And what makes blunt weapons cool is that when you hit someone with it, you open them up to a 50-50, like 100% of the time. With bladed weapons, you can only really do this if you hit a drag, which I'll explain later, but, see, I can feint him, and he's gonna have to read the feint. And it's a 50-50 because since he's flinched, and I'm, like, feinting, he's gonna have a hard time, chambering the feint. Since he's flinched. Especially if you do like a really like quick early feint, he's gonna have to read it. That's why blunt weapons are cool. I really like blunt weapons. If I had to pick a favorite, it's gotta be blunt weapons because I like bullying people with feints. And punish pretty much everything with a kick. and by everything, I really just mean like bad footwork. So if this guy's like running at me, right? He's just straight up running at me while he's swinging his weapon. If he were really good at like distancing himself, he would keep his distance and like swing and then like sprint at me while he's in release phase, so that there's less time for me to try to kick him. But not a lot of people do that. Not a lot of people are gonna do that. So for the most part, if you kick like that, you can get away with some cheeky shit. Like you just throw out a kick. I wouldn't telegraph it though. I wouldn't just like back up like this. Like if you're backing up like this, they're gonna expect a kick coming. But if you're just fighting a guy and then he attacks and you react quick enough and you know he's gonna run into you, you can throw a kick at him. But at the same time, if you like miss a kick, they can punish you pretty hard.
You embarrass yourself.
They can punish you pretty hard for missing a kick. Also, you can bait kicks by like going in and then like walking out if you know they're gonna kick. But yeah, just figured I'd mention kicks. Just be careful using them. Don't use them all the time. Use them if they use them. Use a kick if you know they're going to walk into your foot. But also, it's better. Sometimes it's good to not use a kick because sometimes you just want to attack them. But if they're gonna attack and you just like steal your turn back, you just want to steal initiative, you can kick them. Also, when you kick, you can 50-50 them because they're flinched, so it works like a blunt weapon, where like they have to hard read you. So kicks are good sometimes. Well, kicks are good most of the time, just don't overuse them. Because sometimes it's better to get a riposte off, like so. So I'm going to get into like talking about offense a lot. I'm going to talk a bit about defense. So if you're parrying, for the most part, if you parry an attack, you have initiative. Because when you parry an attack, they are in recovery phase. So if you play fighting games, you might know about negative frames and plus frames. Think of it like every single attack in Mordhau is negative frames on parry, or on block, as they would say in fighting games. It is negative frames on block, or on parry in Mordhau. So if I parry this guy... Here, let me... Come on, parry an attack, bro. Literally parry an attack. See, if he parries one of my attacks... If he parries one of my attacks and I just like spam click, he's gonna catch me. And he's gonna do damage to me. When you parry an attack, when you block an attack, whoever blocks, it's their turn. They have initiative. When you're being defensive, mentioned earlier, you can chamber. You should know that you can already parry, right? Like you can parry attacks. That's a defensive option. You can counterattack chamber. That's an option. And flow chart that comes from chambering. Or you could riposte. So if I block his attack, you see it says riposte there, and it pretty much gets rid of Windup. It gets rid of like half the Windup. What a lot of people do after riposting is something called swing manipulation. And for me to give you an idea of what swing manipulation is, I'm gonna turn on these draw tracers. And you're gonna see these weird lines that come out of your weapon. It's getting a bit clustered. It's 1 second or 2 seconds should work. Okay. so I'm gonna show you real quick. See, look at his weapon. You see, those are basically the hurt boxes. That does damage to you. Yeah, you can do some pretty wacky, crazy stuff with swing manipulation. It's pretty big in the NA scene. Pretty big in the NA scene. Everyone in North America loves to fucking abuse swing manipulation. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy using it myself. Hey, look. That's something called a toe drag. You don't need to worry about that right now. You can just literally look the same direction your weapon is coming from, or the opposite direction your weapon is swinging. So, if I want to drag a right strike, I would look to the right. If I want to excel a right strike, which is a faster attack, I would look to the left. And I don't want to over-explain this, because this is, like, slightly more advanced, but, like, basically, I think I explained it well enough for you to get the concept. The swings in Mordhau are rendered in real time, so there's a lot you can do with it. I don't believe there's really much else to go over in terms of, like, basic shit I wanted to explain to, like, new players. Maybe you happen to get into Mordhau during the new recent update, Eastern Invasion. Maybe you're looking for a refresher, I don't know, but hopefully this video helped you out. I just wanted to share some of my experience. Do something productive with the fucking 900 plus hours I sunk into this game. But yeah, my Discord is in the description. My Discord server, feel free to join. Ping me, ask me questions. Ask me questions in the comments. Suggest things in the Discord server or comments. Maybe you'd like to see a specific topic covered in Mordhau 101. Whatever. But I think that's pretty much about it for basics. I might figure out something for the next video, like explaining swing manipulation in more depth, or chambering, or something. Let me know your thoughts, and yeah, peace.